In a world where the line between reality and fantasy fades away, where silence carries a secret, and every whisper tells a story. Welcome to The Whisper of the Narrator. Here, tales are not just told, they are lived. Souls are reborn through words of mystery and magic, where fear, passion, and destiny intertwine. Every story you hear here will awaken something within you. So listen closely. The whisper begins now. Are you ready to listen? Chapter 9. Infernal Phoenix Egg. In Watson's eyes, there was a row of small, glowing words floating on the eggs in the basket. Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken Eggs. Effect: excellent taste. Consumption: will. Consuming one egg increases a person's lifespan by 1 year and raises one's strength by 100 caddies. Effects weaken after repeated consumption. As soon as he uttered the command, the 100 eggs inside the basket instantly turned into a glow and merged together. However, its size had shrunk and it turned into an egg the size of a lychee. Calling it an egg was not entirely appropriate. The translucent glass-like shell had a picture of a phoenix bathing in fire on it. It emitted a gentle glow, and its heart was beating as if it contained life. The moment it appeared, a fragrance that elicited intense urges was wafting in the air, making everything seem like a dream. It was no longer an egg, but a pearl, a work of art. Congratulations, Master. Fusion success. You have obtained the Infernal Phoenix Egg. Infernal Phoenix Egg. Effect: an egg from the legendary phoenix. Has irresistible taste. Consumption will increase your lifespan by 100 years and raise your strength by 1,000 caddies. There is also a small chance of awakening the phoenix's divine beast bloodline. Only effective when consumed for the first time. Cannot be incubated. What was that thing? As they stared at the thing in Watson's basket, Vincent's eyes widened, as well as Wesley and the others. So many high-value Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken Eggs disappeared just like that, and even turned into a small ball? Was it magic, or were they hallucinating? However, the pressure emanating from the small ball caused a battle-hardened Iron Tier warrior like Wesley to feel an urge to kneel down. One look was enough to tell that it was something good. Hand it over. Kid! Before he could finish his sentence, Watson had already stuffed the Phoenix Egg into his mouth under everyone's eyes. A scorching aura entered his body, traveling from his throat to his stomach, opening up his blood vessels as white steam poured out from the pores on his body. Watson's face was tensed up. His skin was dry and red, like a chicken being roasted over a fire. What was the pinnacle of a chicken? The answer was a phoenix. Watson had only transmigrated to that world for a few days, but knew that the birds, chickens, and similar magical beasts in the world were all descendants of the legendary phoenix. The Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken was one of the best among the foul-type magical beasts. and there was a minute trace of divine beast bloodline in its body. At that point, the bloodline had been infinitely magnified, and the egg had turned into a phoenix egg. The things that his fusion system fused could not be likened to 1 + 1 = 2, but more like 1 + 1 = 10. Watson would not have been unprepared after knowing that it would be hard to keep the Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken. At this moment, the system's voice sounded again. "Congratulations, Master! You have successfully absorbed the Infernal Phoenix's egg. You have gained 100 years of life and 1,000 caddies of strength. You have also awakened a trace of the Phoenix bloodline and activated the Phoenix wings." Whoosh! Along with that sound, white steam began coming out from Watson's pores, along with black dirt. That dirt was the impurities in his body. Immediately after, the clothes on his back were stretched open, and a pair of flaming feathered wings appeared. They were more than a meter long and were unusually beautiful. Every feather was as thin as a cicada's wings, and if one looked carefully, they would notice crystal-like patterns on the wings that rivaled even the best of crystals. With a gentle wave, the impurities on the surface of his body were completely burned away. Like a phoenix reborn from the flames, Watson had also broken out of his cocoon and become a butterfly. He could feel the knowledge appearing suddenly in his mind. Phoenix wings, capable of flight and releasing phoenix flames. Wings can also be turned into swords and shields to block the attacks of bronze-tier individuals. Defensive capabilities increase with the strength of its owner. The Phoenix bloodline was awakened along with wings. Watson was delighted. He had originally planned to obtain 1,000 pounds of strength, as that was enough for him to deal with those guards with the help of magic and his big brother. The turn of events came as a pleasant surprise. Ever since the ancient times, only a silver-level professional or a mage could do that. If news of him breaking that rule were spread out, it would suffice to drive people insane. At that moment, he was already considering whether or not to sell the eggs after they were fused. Hand over the Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken. He gestured to Wesley, who was standing opposite him, and the phoenix wings on Watson's back flapped violently. A holy white flame burned the air and charged straight at Wesley. Are these combat aura wings? Wesley stared at the wings, and his eyes almost popped out. The child in front of him was a silver-tier warrior. For the record, even the strongest warrior in their farm was only bronze tier, and a great noble would even have to treat a silver-tier warrior with respect. Watson was 2 tiers higher than Wesley, but the latter did not sense any fluctuations of combat aura from the boy. Wesley started to doubt himself, but it was already too late to retreat. He could only raise his thin sword and use his wind blade. The violent combat aura of the wind surrounded his body, expanding the blade by 10 times. The 10-meter-long sword shadow flashed toward Watson, splitting the holy flame in half. The sword aura split the waves. "Danger!" Vincent shouted. He did not have the time to bother about why 2 fiery wings grew out of his 8th brother's back, and whether or not the boy was a silver tier warrior. He simply rushed out. He knew Wesley's strength very well. The wind blade was as fast as the wind and could pierce through several layers of steel plates. Wesley had once used this sword to split open a wild bull that was running wildly, which was a clear sign of how powerful it was. Before Vincent could react, however, Watson's right wing had already swept over. The feathers had retracted and turned into a red, crystal-like shield, blocking Wesley's attack. This is an Iron Tier warrior's attack? That's all there is to it? The wing that blocked the sword aura did not mess up a single feather. As Watson spoke, he waved his hand and the other wing's feathers became erect. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound was incessant, and they all turned into burning lights as they flew toward Wesley. The combat aura barrier that capable of block the sword aura was penetrated at once, burning Wesley's armor to ashes. His hair was disheveled, and his body was charred black. Wesley knelt on the ground, his eyes wide open in a daze. If he could be defeated that easily, then it was definitely combat aura that had transformed into wings. He had asked around at the dining table and knew that there were no strong individuals in Edward's family. The child named Watson was clearly a mage, but how did he suddenly become a silver tier warrior? He would not have made a move if they had told him about such a talented child in the family. Was it all a lie? There were a few feathers stuck on Wesley's body, but not a single drop of blood flowed out. The temperature of these feathers was too high, so his wounds were burnt into a char before he could bleed. Wesley opened his mouth resentfully and spat out a cloud of green smoke before falling down. After knocking Wesley down, Watson still had to make a move on the few guards behind him. Plop, little brother. No, sir, we were wrong. Don't attack. We surrender. Before Watson was given a chance to attack, the 2 guards who were ready to charge threw their weapons down and begged for mercy. The remaining 2 guards, who were restraining the Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken, also gulped and dropped to their knees at the same time. Wesley was the strongest among them, yet he was defeated in one go, so they could not possibly be so brave as to court death. Watson was clearly a 10-year-old child, but he was already ranked as silver tier. At that point, they became a little scared when they suddenly thought of the scene where Watson had summoned the wind and rain in the field. He must have been a monster to have mastered magic and combat aura. The Pentacolor Fragrant Chicken tore the cloth strips with its claws and crawled out from the sack that had fallen to the ground. It glanced at the people around it with disdain and walked into the chicken farm with its head held high. No one dared to stop it anymore. And so, the whisper fades, but the story never truly ends. Each tale hides within it a new beginning, perhaps even another life waiting to be told. You've been listening to The Whisper of the Narrator. If this journey touched your soul, don't let it end here. Subscribe, stay, and listen again. For the next whisper will be deeper, darker, and more beautiful.